Okay, let's stop it right there. What's going on, everybody? Yeah, it's, I don't know, I just felt like jumping on. I was going to do a remix. And, I don't know. I put Soulogy Remix on and then I went back and changed it to Soulogy Reflections. And I just started thinking about 2022 and 2023 yesterday. Last night, I kept waking up in the middle of the night, and I was like, I don't know, it was weird. I was like, in 2022, but in 2023. In 2023, I guess you would call it 5D, and 2022 is 3D. But I could be in both of them. It was weird. So anyway, I got up here and I was looking for. I was going to do a remix, and I was looking for something to, like a few different videos to put together and see what we could come up with, what kind of energy we could come up with. And so I'm a bit nervous. I don't know what's going on. So I came across this this video that I did in late 2014 or early 2015. It was really the first video of more than 2 or 3 minutes. I did like 4 videos first over like 3 months. They were all like 2 minutes. And then I did this long one when I really decided I was going to, take this thing on video. But anyway, the first 1 minute and 11 seconds is what I listened to that then made me change direction, because I started thinking about Soulogy. I started thinking about Todd. I started thinking about Todd and Morgan. I started thinking about everyone and where we were and where we are now. What were we saying when we woke up, and what are we saying now, right? So I'm going to just play this 1 minute and 11 second video. I think you'll find it interesting. And again, I'm doing this not because it's me. I'm doing this because just to give us some food for thought, what were we talking about when we woke up? And this would have been late 2014, but I woke up in summer of 2011, but still everything's relative. We know we take the linear out of it. But yeah, that's kind of where I want to go with it. And like everything else, it's going to be spontaneous, and we're just going to keep the conversation going with myself and maybe other people. I don't know. We'll just see what happens. But anyway, reflections. What were we talking about when we first woke up? Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Soulogy. Soulogy is a spiritual energy. It's not an organization. It's not a religion. Really, there's no dogma. There's no doctrine. About the only thing you're going to find is that, we're going to acknowledge that there is a higher power. And I think that every single one of us can acknowledge that there are many powers greater than us, many powers. Forces of nature and so on. Secondly, the golden rule. The golden rule is not as simple as it sounds. The golden rule is also really yin and yang, light and darkness. What goes around comes around. Karma. That's really, to me, I think, it's not so much honoring, although certainly there's praise for the one, for the infinite, whatever that is, because I don't think we have any idea what that is. But we do know one thing, that there is a perfect order to the universe. Yes, I started listening to that this morning as I was going through the archives trying to find something. And, I think we've all had a lot of stuff going on. We have these multiple streams that continue to multiply in so many different aspects of our lives, our thinking, the way we communicate, the way our days go. And there seems to be a real push, and we've talked about it for years, but where you're literally living in a moment-by-moment existence from a totally different perspective, a perspective of never having done it before. So it's new to us. And so I just, was sitting here thinking with everything else going on, like, how do you take the day on? Time is losing its influence. many other things are dropping away, and I think it's like just kind of get up and start going. You know what I mean? And just follow the clues. So I get on, and I'm sharing what I've shared in 6 minutes and 41 seconds, and I see this comment from, and I know I'm getting your name wrong, Zana, because Izzy and a few other people pronounce your name, and I don't know who they're talking about. Yana, I think is what they said, is how you say it. But anyway, I love you, and I appreciate you. Yeah, she says, a huge energy, something that included vulnerability. And then I see Risha Saber, I feel the vulnerability too, Yana. And then here's another comment. As I glide into vulnerability, I find strength. To quote Janis Joplin, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Yes. Shout out Janis Joplin. So, as I was, playing that video and reflecting, as we're able to do multi-stream, it's like we got different ones going on at the same time. Some move to the front. But when she mentions the word vulnerability, I thought, wow, that's how I felt this morning. It's for me, like, that was a great clue, because for me it was a vulnerability that was all about love. Like, all about love. And of course, it starts with those closest to you. I mean, this is what I was picking up on as I was regressing to earlier in the morning, as I'm looking at her words and feeling the frequency of this vortex that we create every time we come together. And so I'm just passing that on, and maybe somebody else is picking up on it. Two people have talked about vulnerability. But to me, that's kind of how it feels. It feels like it's not the heart breaking open anymore. I don't know if it's anymore, but it feels more like the heart kind of like stepping out, like coming into awareness of itself or something. I don't know. But very tender after 2022. I think a lot of us are very tender. It was a hell of a ride. But like I was saying at the top of the broadcast, it feels like 2023 feels like, and I really don't care for all the terms and labels, but like 5D. Like crazy, stupid, cartoonish, dumb stuff, obvious stuff. We can talk vaccines, we can talk about all kinds of stuff is going on, but at the same time, there's an individual soul revolution happening, and there's no bullshit to it. And it's a totally different lifestyle. It's a totally different reality. It seems to be very much centered around the beautiful things that we try to describe, that is creation itself, which is creativity, spontaneity, transparency, through the inspirational expressions of being who we are. For some people, that means rapping and singing and poetry, but for all of us, it means being able to be ourselves, being able to be comfortable in our own skin. And it sounds nuts. It sounds nuts to think, with all the podcasts and all the philosophies and psychologies and metaphysics and the whole kit and caboodle, that none of that ultimately will even be necessary or needed. And it could even be obsolete as quick as we embrace the fact that we do contain everything within ourselves, and we may not understand it all from the human level, but it looks like being ourselves, being truly transparent, which is obviously in this incarnation, the heart, the mind, the gut is all involved, but the heart is the projector. It's a powerful, energetic, physical force. A lot of people know about the Heart Institute or whatever it's called, that Greg Braden does or somebody does. It's that simple. I mean, it literally is us tapping our shoes and Toto went behind the curtain, you know. But yeah, so I don't know. I was talking to a friend last night, and they're like, "Man, you ought to get on and do some solos like you used to." And I'm like, "I don't know." And then here I am doing one. I didn't plan on it. I just actually planned on doing a remix. We got a show in an hour, and I wasn't even going to, you know, show my face and just play videos. But yeah, I think there's always something going on. And there's been, in my opinion, at least what we would consider a huge wave, if not a massive wave, every 3 days. I mean, you know, Morgan got a download for December, before December, which was every 3 day, like 3, 6, 9, 12. Every day in December, the numbers added up to 3 was a power day. And it was like 11 days or something in December. But to me, it's felt like that so far in January. And I really don't think it's going to slow down. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I know a lot of people have different symptoms. I mean, everybody has, you know, different ways of experiencing things physically, mentally, emotionally, etc. I tend to get really dehydrated. I drink a lot of water, like coconut water, but I know we're really, really busy in what we call dream state. And energetically, which is what this is all about, we're all power generators. So we're all moving out of this what we consider to be a very physical environment, but we've learned over the last 10 years that it's much more to it than that. But it's we're moving out of this, whatever you want to call it, however you want to describe it, going through a photon belt, whatever you want to call it, where we're coming into a deeper awareness, which we realize that we've been either wasting, maybe that's not the right word, giving our energy away unconsciously. So we're transitioning as energetic beings into consciously emitting Trinity energy, right? I mean, think about it. In the old paradigm of codependence, we gave our energy away and we took people's energy. That's the only way you could function. So there really was no expansion, you might say, where now people are containing their own energy and building from the infinite universe. And what does that look like in the human world? And I think it looks like people being themselves and expressing themselves. Here's another. We're just going to keep playing this spontaneously. Hey, Victoria. Exhausted. Yeah, all these words taking on new meanings too. That's another word. Vulnerability would be one this morning. Exhausted would be another. It not just exhausted physically. I mean, I had to spend, 45 minutes in the bathroom exfoliating my face to get all the all the skin off that burned through the night, especially on my third eye. But exhausted, not just physically, the body exhausting its resources, the body physically depleting energetically, mentally exhausted, because that's a whole different thing, right? The mental approach to life, and some people are more mental than others, but that's taken a beating too. Like, you can't even schedule stuff. Things just happen. It's just, we've talked about this on the shows and people talk about it. Emotionally. Now, I know more than anything, our emotions took a bath in 16 different tsunamis in 2022. But you know what? We came out stronger. And now there's a lot of stuff because of our emotional transformations, our emotional alignment that got to a point, or has gotten to a point, or is getting to a point where we are consciously in control at a human level of our emotions. Or let's just say not in control. We're not separating ourselves. We're owning them. We're learning to live with them. We're learning to what they're what are they about. And this is, in the physical sense, the root of our creation. Our emotions are a superpower for humans, and so as you can look at so many examples, like so many great songs and poems, people writing from deep emotion. But this is the payoff. As we see less projection in our life, and as we project less in our life, the outcome of that is going to be a different kind of thing on the other side of the equal sign. Where in the old days it would be more codependence energies, more chaotic energy, more toxic energy, and now we're learning to live with our emotions, be open with our emotions, not run from our emotions, and this has been a real big part, I think, of at least how I see it, as we've landed in 2023. Although it's not really landing, you're like landing on a conveyor belt, and you got to keep running or you're going to fall off. Oh, wait a minute. I thought it was at 8 o'clock. Oh, we're starting the show now. Okay. I have it on my calendar for an hour from now. But let me just double check. Yeah, that's my friend. He's coming on. Let me turn this off. Let me see what I said. Yeah, and here we go. I'm just like, okay, that was at, what time was that at? Sorry, people. But we're going to come on here. 8 p.m. Don't worry, Todd, it's easily done. 8 p.m. Is it 8 p.m. in England? Okay, man. I think, I don't know. Did I get this right or did... okay, let me see if he says it's okay. Can we start at 8? I thought that was when. Up to you. Question mark. Yeah, Maros Makey Slaminsky's coming on within the next hour. We'll just see what's best for him. But let me tell you, with so much information, so many things being put in front of us, and here I am just jumping on this morning and just trying to follow the crumbs and picking up, the messages that y'all are putting up, and just kind of like trying to fill into it and create something together. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but one of the things that keep me kind of that keep me going, really. Now Maros, he sent me a note, and I've never met him before. This was just a couple of weeks ago. He said, this was on the 4th of January. He said, I was watching your show yesterday with Kaya. Now, this was the girl that came on and talked about some really serious subjects in her family. That video can't be found anymore, and I'll just leave it at that. And I wanted to connect with you for years. I did hear your call for the new shows. I never did talk publicly about me or my life. Thanks for understanding. Much love. That's, in my opinion, the best thing we can do for all of us is to, okay, so we're going to start at 8. Thanks, Maros. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Okay, and we got 74 people in the house. So, okay, yeah, I don't know. One thing is, like, looking back at that video I played at the front, at the top of the show, when I had all that hair on my head and it was all black. One thing I've noticed about Soulogy energy, and I'm not Soulogy, Morgan's not Soulogy, Soulogy is just another name for, like I always say, it could be another name for the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. But in this leg of this continuous journey that we're all having, my understanding and my experience has been that the more transparent the expression, and let's just say they're live videos or spirit walks or Soul Speak 5Ds or, whatever. But the more transparency, not that that's an easy thing, and not that that's a mandatory thing, but the more transparency that a generation of code, the generator of code, us, puts out there. Because transparency, like the truth frequency, the more effective it is. So as I was, looking back at some of these archives, I've been doing a lot of editing. And so I've been looking at a lot of, I guess you would say, like memories. This stuff is like 7, 8 years old, 5, 6 years old. Whether it was me, whether it was a collaboration, whether it was other videos that I've gathered in the archives, I think that's one thing that I notice is that, these people are just being real. And it's not always pretty, and it's not always beautiful, and it's not always happy, and it's not always sad, but there's something about it. And I think this is the part of us that's coming out. And I think that's why you're seeing more and more people come out. Now, it's one thing to come out and because it's, whatever it is that you have, that your soul's nudging you to do or be or say, or boundary to draw, or line to draw in the sand, or however it is for you to continue, or any of us to continue to expand in our own individualization, which is kind of motored by transparency. Transparency is knowing something without any impediment, any blockage, anything. And what is it that we're doing? We're becoming transparent with ourselves, and then it's just parlaying into this experience that we're all sharing. But I think that it's one thing to come out, and this is not to. I think anyone that takes the initiative to do anything, I don't care who they are, you have to give them credit. Give credit where credit's due, because it's not ever an easy thing. I sat on a couch for 3 days before I made that video, before I made the first official video of Soulogy, because I was scared, because I thought, well, this is insane. I'm hearing these voices, and they're telling me you need to get on, you need to, start talking, But whatever it is, for anyone, I think we have to give ourselves credit for trying, because there's no such thing as mistakes. There's an old saying, I'm not judged by the number of times I fail, but by the number of times I succeed, which is in direct proportion to the number of times I try. So we got to give ourselves credit and each other for that. I think it's another thing entirely to show up to the highest degree of comfortability, if that's a word, transparency, and maybe you throw vulnerability in there, because that's there's a line. The one thing about vulnerability is it can be very uncomfortable. So I think we have to give that its due. So, yeah, I lost my track there. Hey, Monique Hendry, what's happening? David Seawright, Marie shining her light. Yeah, so, I just felt like that. Well, okay, let me back up. Again, the reason I got into all that is because the only way I know to get on here, and I've been somewhere around 5,500 video productions. I'm not in all of them, but I've done a lot of this work. And when I do things on my own, or maybe even in the show, I guess, I don't know. But the only way I can really go there is to be personal. I can't really, I can listen to people. I do it on the show, and I have this, capacity to both take, you could say, etheric information and conversational information, and kind of like, oh, okay, so this is what you're saying, boom, 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 boom. But to try to share my own experience, as the individual goes, so goes the collective. The only way I know how to do that is to do what I've done over the years. So, as I sit here in 2023, and after the incredible 2022 experience, such an incredible year, I really just don't. I personally don't feel that I've fully grasped the enormity of what we achieved, experienced, coded last year. So, and everything took a bath. Structures were deconstructed, lives were deconstructed, beliefs were deconstructed, you know, and we kind of came out the wash into January, kind of like smelling good, folded nicely, but as our friend said earlier, exhausted. And now we're feeling our way into our newest experience, and it's a new language, and it's a new everything, new ways to create, and so this is where I'm kind of bringing this all to a full circle. Two things. One, if I'm going to do anything on here, I got to just be personal, and I can't always get too personal because other people are involved. But that's going to be something that I'm going to pursue again, almost like full circle, back to the spirit walks. But the other thing is that things have to change. Things have to change. That's how it works. And we're not losing anything. In fact, we're losing nothing. So Todd has to change. Not has to. Anytime people say you need to and you have to, I mean, that makes me just cringe. But change is inevitable. But we have a choice. Are we going to be changed, or are we going to grow? Are we going to be changed by external things, or are we going to know the change is always in the mix, and we're going to work with those things that we wish to take with us and leave behind those things that no longer align? So, Todd will change and grow. You will change and grow. Soulogy will change and grow. Soul Speaks 5D will change and grow. And that's just an example. We've done, anywhere from 700 to I'd say 700 to 900 shows a year. Last year we did about 475. It was a different year. We had things going on, whatever. I think there's a real call. I think one thing that we're learning to do, all of us, is to be conscious of our energy and to utilize it, not hoard it, not hold back, but to pick our spots, quality over quantity. So, this will just be kind of personal and Soulogy business, I guess, but I want to take this Soul Speaks 5D to another level. And I think too this year, not just like at Soulogy, maybe, I don't know, but in the world in general, this whole new Earth grid that has been anchored will start to take on some kind of flower of life attribute or pattern, and I believe this is why a lot of people are getting the call to step forward and share themselves and share their work and just share their stories. So very powerful. In my opinion, the most powerful thing we can do right now in this moment, right? There's so many things we could talk about. But back to the personal thing. I sit in this first part of January and I go, everything has been deconstructed. Everything. I don't even have to ask people. I guarantee you, over the last 2 or 3 months, people are projecting less. being projected less on. Now, I'm not saying the whole world, but how do we know? All we get's the bullshit. You can't believe a damn thing you see out there. Not even half of it on the internet. Not even half of the Lightworker disclosure platforms. But for all the stuff that we've kind of found out about ourselves, for the things that we've decided to leave behind, for the things that we've decided to leave behind but then decide we want them back, for all the different categories, all the confusion, the exhaustion, the intense situations that occurred with brothers and sisters and etc. And that we realize now wasn't really either one of us, it was the energy. That everybody, that everybody's susceptible to. That everybody, nobody gets out of it. Right? We're all human beings. Nobody gets out of that. We're all souls. Nobody gets out of that. And we're all in this transition we call ascension, where there's a rapidly changing evolutionary and environmental, on all of our aspects, all of our bodies, effect. So as I sit here and I'm going, okay, my saying is, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be with? Let's go. And that's how I see it coming down. And I know it sounds like a fairy tale, and I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. If we believe it, if we can conceive it, because that's what we're doing. We're conceiving. We're copulating creatively and cosmically every day. But to consciously conceive something, especially where two or more gather, wow. And to believe it. And believe it is it's a tough word, but there is a definition of faith in the dictionary, not the noun, but the transitive verb, which has stuck with me since the day I reawoke. Somehow or another, it popped into me. Look up faith. And the transitive verb, second definition, to trust, believe. And what that always meant to me was that's a motion, transitive verb, transitive. And that's the way I see it. Faith is constant. Faith is, something that can be aligned, or you could say with growth or what have you. But that's really it. Do you believe in yourself? These deep conversations that we've had with ourselves and with some of our loved ones, especially over the last year. And don't discount quick messenger exchanges or text exchanges as being something nominal and limited. It's not. We're exchanging massive amounts of codes, and it doesn't matter if it was a 2-hour discussion or 3-line messages. But yeah, we've gotten really deep now. Like, do I love myself? Do I respect myself? Do I honor myself? Do I forgive myself? We all have our struggles. Some of my struggles people know about, and some they don't, and same with me for y'all. But this is another thing we have in common, what we call struggles. This is the human experience, the human condition. This is how we set this thing up. But it's real important. And it doesn't matter, because, you think about it. What if you're living in a $6 million mansion with $100,000 cars, can eat anything you want, can have anything you want, anytime you want? Push a button, you get it. What happens if you live in a shack and you don't have indoor plumbing and you don't have electricity? What is the space in between? and all the spaces in between. There's a part of us that's going to be available, aware, and present at the same vibrational frequency in either situation and all points in between. Okay, the reason I'm bringing that up is because there seems to be like this paradoxical quality to this experience. What's up is down, what's left is right, it's always upside down. And by virtue of that, I feel like that as we continue to expand at parallel to that, what we used to believe the world was will continue to expand in its own right in a distortive manner. And I'm not trying to put anything in the field, but I think that it's like the emperor with no clothes on, okay? And I'm going to step out of the box just a little bit here, because we, all of us, are all about our own growth, our own Trinity energy, our contribution to this whole thing, right? Well, I think there's some, both a convergence and a collision occurring. And I think it is going to be more important to speak your truth. And there's a big white elephant in the room, which is just one example of something bigger behind it, right? Whatever. That would be the experience of from 2020 to 6 or 8 months ago. This COVID thing, vaccines. Now, whether it's this subject or many other subjects we get into, but this is the biggest one there. I think it's something that we've all had to contend with, and we've all had our own experiences. We've all made different choices. But nevertheless, it was something that was laid on the whole world, a lot like 9/11. And for us to tap the most potential that we can, we know we have to integrate polarities, even in this distorted dualistic environment. So it's a lot harder to recognize polarities in a distorted dualistic environment because of the distortion and the duality. But I think, this is part of part of our awareness that's occurred. To be able to make the choice and make the jump between judgment and discernment. Because remember, judgment or compassion is no judgment at all. And that's a fact. And that's the thing about the land that we're walking on. There is no in between. You either say, hey, I fucking love you. I want to be with you. Or, hey, I'm in. Let's build this project. Or whatever the collaborations be. And we jump in with our full energy with both feet. And we really go for it. I don't really see any other way. I saw this great post today, and I put it in Soulogy group, and I'm going to pull it up because I'm doing this. All right, I got to do something different, right? Okay, let me find it. Shouldn't be too far. Okay, here we go. Almost there. Okay, man. I know what's going to happen is I'm not going to be able to find it. Damnation. Oh well. Okay, so it was the dude that is I believe he's Hindu. He has a really long name. He has a really long name, and it starts with a K, I believe. God, Somebody will know who he is. But what he was saying and it wasn't, I don't know. I'll just try to remember it. What he was saying was that when you accept all that is, then let's just say all actions, initiatives, or, of transforming what is to create a future goes out the window. It's actually from this space of accepting what is. And this is where the analogy of living in the $6 million mansion versus living in a shack. That part of us that accepts all that is will be the same in both. And this whole thing about we have to do something to transform what is not the pattern or the trajectory. And don't get me wrong, there's a big difference between, that guy. This guy here. Right here. Thanks, Lisa. But like I was saying earlier, a lot of these definitions have changed, right? And very quickly. So there's a big difference between trying to change what is, trying to transform what is to create something that we don't have, right? As opposed to initiating action spontaneously, intuitively, creatively, in the moment. And so for me, this is where I think this is the big thing I wanted to share today for myself, okay? And I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and do this. And this is what happened. So for me, it's like, okay, wait a minute. If I've been trained to, even though I can say, I accept everything that is. I was on the streets for 2 years. I'm separated from my wife by half a world, or my car broke down, or whatever. I can say I accept what is. And we know that nothing is finite, so there's always more depth. But it's another thing for me to say, I accept what is, therefore everything I create is in this now moment. Like, I'm not trying to change something now to get to something that I think I don't have. So what I'm trying to say for myself, now this is just me, is my focus now is, I guess you could say, on the day. And what my soul's telling me is that if and when you create in the moment without any regard for what I just said, like without this mindset of, I've got to transform this so this can happen. When I'm at that point and I'm focused in the present and creatively, because life is art, and I'm creatively moving moment by moment through my day, that the power of what I can create in the moment is something we've never seen before. It has powers that will materialize that we've never seen before because of the expansion of the earth over these last, whatever years. So that's what I want to explore. So what does that mean to me? Okay. So I've been trying to write the world's greatest love song since I met Morgan. And I never can get there, right? I can get pieces here and pieces there. And this is maybe not a great example, but it's the only one I have right now. So what happens, let's say that a moment like that comes, whatever that may be, whatever that is, whatever that thing that's been, how your soul drops a little seed in and it never goes away. Many of us have what you would call purposes or missions or vocations that came from that. So you get to that point, you're in the moment, you're not thinking about posting it, you're not thinking about if it's a song, selling the record, or you're not even thinking about, you're just absorbed in all of that, and you create this masterpiece, energetic masterpiece. As I'm getting it from my soul, that's me, the power of our creative ability now, when we're in that space where we don't have the mindset that we're trying to transform something, because it ultimately means that we don't have something and that we're lacking what we already have, and we're just trying to produce it. It's just being produced in ways that we have not seen, ways that were depicted in myths and fairy tales and folklore and oral traditions. So I don't know, what that looks like, but I know that since I've kind of like been getting into this, just for a few days too, and this has been convoluted too. Don't think I've got my act together all the time, because I don't. I'm just like everybody else. But as I've been doing this, what I'm finding is, and it happened to me this morning hugely, is I wake up in the morning and I might start thinking about what's going on with immigration, what's happening with this, what's happening with that, these things out there that involve time and involve even geography, physical location, let's put it that way, that become no longer a part of my landscape or my palette, that I paint from. They're no longer there. And I just say, okay, where can I go right now? And I'm going to explore it, and I'm going to explore it in my end of Soulogy, or what I bring to the table. And again, it's not about me. It's not about Morgan. It's not about Morgan and me. It's about every single person. That's the way I understand it, and it's a reflection of it all. So, yeah, we're going to do a show in 23 minutes, and yeah, I guess, the whole thing was just getting on. Like I said, I was going to do a remix, and then I found this old video, and I listened to the first 1 minute and 11 seconds, which was one of the syncs. I looked at, oh, that's good, I'll stop it there. It was 1 minute, 11 seconds. And then it just got me to thinking, well, just get on and start talking. And because really, what we really want to put out there, and always have, has been the real information. And here's the thing, that some of this I'm privy to because of Morgan, a lot of it, because the more the further we get into this, the more I realize, especially with what I do, like looking for people, watching other platforms. But the more I get into all this, the more I realize that there are, there's some in the background, but there's some in the back of the background. And there's I think that's where the vast majority of what's coming out will come from. I went to a session a couple of days ago that she put up, with a couple of days notice, a family constellation thing. It was very powerful. There was 30-something people there, and they're all women, and they're all, in the background. These types of souls are all over the world, and I think as they're introduced, which can be facilitated or assisted upon by some places like Soulogy, but ultimately it's an individual thing. And we've seen many people come on the show over the years, especially as time has gone on, that was to tell you, I don't want to be here, but my higher self soul is pushing me. So I have to be here. And it's a beautiful thing when people break through that and then they want to like come on the next week again. Oh, I want to do it again. I want to do it again. But my point is that as these souls are introduced and recognized, and their coding is proliferating through the grid in a conscious way versus the private, small groups, individual efforts that are effective. Don't get me wrong, but we are in a quantum thought realm. So when people are exposed to these types of souls or this type of energy, then it in itself is a code generator, like a remembrance generator. So I think it's important to consider that, and I really, really appreciate, we appreciate anyone and everyone that's come on and collaborated over the years. And having said that, I would love to see people that have never been on, ever. Like our brother that's about to come on in 19 minutes that sent the lovely message. So everything's growing. Change is growth. Well, yeah, change is growth. Unconscious change, or allowing the external to change us, is one way to go through it. That's the let be dragged mode. And then the other one is to utilize our expanded awareness and continued collaboration and code exchanging to go through with ease and grace. And think about that. Think about change, the word, versus grow. Like that in itself, especially in this new energy, there's a total differentiation between the two. Torre Lindbergh, yeah, one day he's going to come on, man. Yeah, I would love to see you come on. Your energy is great. Yeah, I forgot what I was ending with. Yeah, well, okay, so, I've always been this kind of make it up as you go kind of guy, as people know. I know it drives some people crazy, but that's just the way it is. And I think that actually serves me pretty well in this new emerging energy, which runs on spontaneity, intuition, creativity, imagination, and courage. So yeah, we want to make sure that we expand the quality and the substance of anything that we might put out, and to grow a little, which means to produce and conceive and birth new things in that same energy. No stagnation. Okay, so we're going to have anyway, thanks for sitting with me, and who knows, I might not ever do this again, but I might do it tomorrow. Who knows? I don't know. Or maybe we just expand with it, maybe bring somebody on now and then or whatever. But I just feel like it's important to if I don't really feel like personally I have a lot to offer right now. I think a lot of us kind of feel that way coming out of 2022. I mean, you're a bit drip dried and tender, but I do feel like no matter what the current disposition is, how a person's feeling, there's nothing wrong, certainly, and I believe there's probably a lot of positives, if not even 100% for the most part, when a person still shows up and or shows up whether they want to or not, and is coming from the heart, or trying to be transparent. I don't have the answers. Let me make that very clear. I'm here to get the answers, and the answers change every single day as we reach a higher and higher truth. So that's why we'll keep doing what we're doing, and see, we can get some other people involved. But anyway, all right. So we're gonna have a show talk. Soul Speaks 5D in 15 minutes, and maybe do some more stuff later on today. Peace out, everybody.